Welcome back to the podcast. I have another favorite guest of mine and a friend. I have Xine Fontaine here with me, who is a fellow Vita sex, love, and relationship, as well as a spicy love coach. Welcome, Xine. I'm so excited to connect. It's been too long.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm really glad you're here too. So, we are going to dive into, of course, whatever the heck comes up for us today. But the main topic that we're going to try and play around is
Hmm.
is dating again and what it's like after a long pause, after a breakup, after not dating for a long time, after a divorce, whatever it may be, whatever the reason that you
Yeah.
haven't dated for a while is. We're going to
Hmm.
dive into what it's like to date again, especially if you're new to online dating and all that jazz, because
Hmm.
it's a whole new world out there. We were just talking
It
a moment ago.
absolutely is.
But before we go there, let's introduce you more fully. Give us
Hmm.
who you are, who you serve, and why it brought you here. Of course, most likely exactly how you're serving is your medicine. It is something that you've gone through and integrated so deeply yourself and that you're sharing with the
Hmm.
world. So please share it all.
Okay. Well, I'm Xine Fontaine. I'm a sexy love coach, as you said. And the women that I serve most are women who are looking to find, build, and maintain healthy love. And now,
Mhm.
of course, we're going to start to talk about what that looks like in terms of coming back into the dating scene after, could be a complicated relationship, could be after divorce, could be just after a really long pause. And I help women along that path. So I would say from the early beginnings of getting back into dating, sometimes being within that dating phase and being like, oh, having all the questions of, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the wrong thing? Am I getting attached too quickly? All the questions, or, reflecting back when there's anxiety coming up, or we're feeling someone pull away, which is very, very common in the dating scene, up into the relationship has begun. And now I want to make sure that I do this in a way that doesn't end up in the same as my previous relationship. So I think that that's really the path that I take women through so that they become more empowered and more comfortable in their love path and their love journey overall.
I love that. What are the things like I've totally relate to hopping back on dating apps or hopping back on the dating world
Yeah.
and being like, am I seeing the right thing? Am I not? And for me, because we've done this empowerment work and
Hmm.
sexuality work for the last many, many years, I actually had a lot of fun with it. So instead of
Yeah.
doubting, or if I was like, "Ooh, should I say that?" I'd be like, "Fuck that. I only want to attract the most aligned person to me for me." So I was like 1000% myself. Like I was
Yeah.
saying what I wanted, I was texting when I wanted, I was being myself. And if you don't like it, tell me now. What are your thoughts on that? It worked for me. So it worked
I
really
fully
well.
agree. I fully and completely agree. And I think coming back into dating is one of those areas that really is a moment when you start to realize how much the stories and your beliefs around what's going to be taking place. Like a lot of people come back into dating feeling like I'm too old, or I have kids, so there's no way, or there's no good men out there. And all
Mm,
of that really gets reflected even from the first moment in your dating profile, right? Like the language you're going to use, the way you will set boundaries, like you were just talking about, the way you'll be able to say, like, I'm not looking for this particular thing, or I'm only looking for a serious
yeah.
relationship. Being able to be bold and honest and direct really will
Yes.
reflect the beliefs that you have underneath. So getting
Mm.
clear on what those beliefs are is really, really key before even getting out there and doing the thing, is to and identify like, okay, what's going on internally, because it will get mirrored in our external world with the relationships that we attract, right?
And who you attract, even if it's just a messaging person. Totally,
Totally.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was really, really clear that I do practice Tantra and I use it to ground and I follow my pleasure. And yet I was very clear in also other things. And when people would reach out, other friends were like, oh my gosh, don't put that. You're going to have everybody messaging you. And sure, there were some that were just sleaze, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, no, thank
Mm-hmm.
you. You did not read my profile, right? Because there was a whole clear definition of who I am, what I do, what I like to do, what I love. And I was really, really clear. And I love that you're saying your beliefs, right? If you believe there's
Yeah.
no good men out there, if you believe that men always act a certain way, I think that was probably the work that we'd done. And I'd done way previous to that through my own journey over the years. But yeah, it really did make a difference showing up exactly in who I was. And it attracted
Hmm.
people who were transparent, same
Yeah.
age. And it's like, this is me, take it or leave it. And do we match up? Like, it's not about me pleasing and proving that I'm good enough to you to go out with me. It's about, hey, this is me, this is you. Like, do we align? Because if not, why are
Hmm.
we wasting our time?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces is that you may not always attract the exact aligned partner, right? It might take some time, and it's okay for it to take some time. It's okay for it to take a few tries and to get into a relationship that you're like, this is not the right fit. But the more clear around what we want, the more clear around what our stories are that are happening inside, the faster and the easiest it is to identify when it's not a good fit. So, as a lot of
Mm,
us have gone through longer term relationships where maybe we stayed a little too long, probably the decisions
a
of getting out
little?
of the relationship could have happened before.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. We
Well,
get much
women
better
wait to
at
the
it now,
very
right?
end. Yeah, women
Exactly. And
wait
we get
till
much
they're
better.
like,
We're just like, okay, well now I know I'm not going to continue with this because I know I'm going to end up in the same situation. So we learn from that. And I think it's okay to get into some relationships that are still not a good fit or to, attract in the app, see those people who are still wanting only to have fun or whatever, and they're not into the same kind of thing as you, but you identify it faster.
yeah.
So it's
And
it's
no
it's
judgment if that's what you want.
win-win. Exactly.
If you're like, hey, I just want to have fun for the next 6 months or a
Yeah,
year, hey, go have fun. But be clear what you want. Be clear if that's not what you
exactly.
want. Be clear if that's what you
Yeah.
do want. I found that was the easiest. I find a lot of men, at least in the Canadian apps, were very, I'm open to whatever you want to give me. And it was like, whoa, okay, you also don't know what you want.
Yeah.
You don't know what you need. You're just going
Hmm.
for crumbs, whatever wants to come your way. So very quickly, it really did help me siphon out and narrow down who I wanted to talk to and who I didn't. And one little cheat thing that worked so well for me, I don't know if this is just me or other people, but I wrote out my profile, right, in my notes, and I wrote out my common questions that people kept asking me instead of me typing it every single time because it can be
Hmm.
very, very time consuming. The very popular questions like pleasure queen, please explain what that means. I had a description already in my phone notes. I was like, copy, paste, and I might add another line or something to it.
Ah.
Because, what are the things you love to do? Here's my list of 50. I didn't want to keep typing them out. So I actually used my phone notes to, the most popular questions that I kept getting asked, and these were my
Hmm.
answers. I saved them in my phone notes and just was like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Made it much easier.
That is a great approach. I hadn't thought
Yeah.
of that. I was going back into other profiles and just copying and pasting certain answers that were longer or whatever. But I
Yeah.
have to admit that I know most people find it so irritating to answer the same questions over and over and over again. Where are you from? Da, 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 da. What do you do? All the things, right? It's the typical thing. But to me, I find that that's a great way to discover a lot about how a person answers. Do they answer at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do they
Absolutely.
answer honestly? Do they ask a question back? Are they engaging in the conversation? Are they genuinely interested in your life, or are they just kind of giving one word answers for you to
Yeah.
like do all the work? There's a
Most
lot
of
you
mine
can
were
get from that little
paragraphs.
information. Exactly.
Exactly. And I wanted to get past the nitty-gritty of who are you? What's the sun like today? The weather. I wanted to
Hmm.
get past that into a
Yeah.
conversation. And this was the
Yeah.
fastest way I got past that into
Yeah.
conversations that were genuine, fun conversations.
Yeah.
And holding boundaries like, hey, you said you didn't want to hook up, but you're sure? Yeah, I'm very sure, but thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
being really firm in my boundaries,
Yeah.
getting a feel, not being afraid, this was a key one, not being afraid to ask what I wanted to ask, right? Like, what are you
Hmm.
looking for? Like asking
Yeah.
that outright as a woman
Hmm.
instead of waiting for them to see what they want to give you. It's like, no, I'm
Hmm.
going to be more empowered here. And I don't love the apps. I got to admit it. They're pretty
I
within
don't
a
know if
month.
anyone loves them.
Within a month, I was like, just for the men alone, I almost put a course, and I still may. I just don't have the time and bandwidth right now. They need a course on how to make a profile and which photos to use. And if I see one more man with a fish photo and sunglasses on, I just don't ever want to go to the apps again, let's just say. But I really do want to help these men because there's part of me that's like, there are so many good women out there for you, and vice versa for the women. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're showing up a certain way or they're afraid, this is the kind of work that you and I do, right? If you're
Yeah.
afraid, if you don't want to speak your truth, if you don't know how to have
Yeah.
boundaries, if you just want to take whatever you can get because you're not sure you can get anything, right? That is a
Yeah.
thought that did cross through my mind, believe
Of
it or not.
course.
After the work I'd done for so many years after leaving my marriage, it was like, what if I never find anybody again? That is
Mm-hmm.
a thought that went through my brain for quite it kept popping up. And it was my job to catch it and go, hi, I see you. You're not true. I get that you're fearful and you're afraid, and you can leave now. Like I had to talk to those thoughts. So that's some of the work I'm sure that you do with clients as well.
I actually I love the idea of how you're talking about earlier before we started the call that you thought of the idea of creating a course for men to create a profile. And for me, it's just like the work is beyond the profile, right? Like already once we've gotten to the profile, that internal piece of not feeling afraid that they may not get anything
Yeah. Yeah.
is is the deeper work that would be needed before even getting to the profile
Totally.
situation.
Totally. But I don't
Which
know
is the
that
same
many
for
men
us.
are willing to do it, right? Many men are not willing to go there first. They need to be invited in, and generally by one of
Loved
us to
in.
invite us
Yeah.
in. Loved
Yeah,
in. Oh my
completely.
gosh, that's such a
Yeah.
good word. But yeah, the work
Yeah.
before it is, what are your beliefs? Where is your self-worth? Where are your boundaries? Where are you in your power? Where are you doubting yourself? Where are you settling? Where are you people pleasing?
Hmm.
Right? Or what else have I missed?
Oh gosh. I like to ask questions about like how are you in relationship? What are the things that people come to you for in general? Because I find in again, we're talking about things like dating apps, but dating is beyond just the dating apps, right? There's the whole meeting and there's sexuality and there's everything around that. But it's like what are the things like people want to know, what am I going to get out of this? It's like selling yourself. I know it's kind of ridiculous, but when you're going on a dating app, it's like you have to say the right things and not just be irrelevant things that will be attractive while at the same time staying in your own power. So it's like, who are you in relationship? What do people absolutely love about you? And that's what attracts them to you. It'll be the same kind of thing with whoever is watching. It can be men, it can be women, it doesn't matter, but whoever you're dating, right? And to bring that forward and not be afraid to put those characteristics forward, to be like, this is all of me, as you said, really being completely honest about that part, while at the same time, and this is really important, it's not a place to vent your wounding. And this you can find a lot.
Mm,
I feel, at least here in Spain, there's a lot of wounding that comes out. Like, I don't want this. If you're like this, if you're like this, I don't want this. And you're just like, oh, that's a lot of baggage. Like I'm gonna not say yes to that level of baggage right now. You know, like there's a lot
yeah,
you need to heal before we couldn't even consider that kind of thing. And it's the same for us. It's to get really aware of what that is. And also it's not the place to post that,
air
right?
it. Yeah.
You want to stay on
Yeah.
the light and fluffy, like you would a friend. If you meet someone, you're not going to just introduce yourself by saying like, dumping all like, are you like this? Or you like this? Because I don't want a person who's like this. It's like, that's,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like I
That's a lot. And yet,
just
I
stay
think
light
it's,
and fluffy.
and I think there's a little bit more to that. Maybe once you get into conversation with somebody,
Yeah,
not to stay fully light and fluffy, because
of
light and
course.
fluffy is also not real. So there was a fine line, I think, a regulated line, a grounded line
Hmm.
of sharing, this is not what I want. I know this. This is a boundary
Hmm.
for me. This is a boundary for me. And this is a boundary for me. And if that we don't line, that's okay. All the best to you. So it was kind of like a dance. It was a dance of, this is what I won't settle for. And this is really, where my line is. And
Hmm.
this is also me and my power. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a difference between venting your wounding and what you just
Okay.
described.
So let's
Yeah.
let's compare the two. What is venting your wounding and what is creating and holding good boundaries? Let's compare them. Let's share them for people listening.
Well, it sounds like for me, what you just described was you had already acknowledged the things that you didn't want, but you called it a boundary for one thing. So
Mm.
the way that you're going to speak on the app is going to be very different than somebody who's saying like, okay, who's thinking from my last relationship was really smothering. They, I don't know, smoked cigarettes, whatever the situation was, right? And
Huh?
they'll put
Yeah.
like, if you're this, if you're this, if you're this, I don't want this. And you can
Yeah.
tell that that energy comes from a place of like, I'm afraid of that. Like I'm afraid of that. And I don't want to experience that again. So the language will be very, very different. So
Yeah.
again,
I
it's all
felt some
about
of
the
that.
internal piece before we get onto the language of the dating app page.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then in a profile where they're holding a stronger boundary and not
Mhm.
projecting their wounding, what did that look like to you or sound like to you? What did you read?
I liked seeing sentences like a woman who knows what she wants. So
Mm.
that is almost empowering to someone. It's like a language that's being used that like, I don't want somebody who's, like you said, not sure of what they want, they're not sure of what they need and all the things. I want somebody who's clear, but that language is empowering. It's saying like, if you know what you want, and I know you do, then reach out to me. And I like that. That's an invitation to step into your power. Very different than I don't want you if you're like this, like this, like this, or like, oh gosh, some of the language I've heard, like if you're crazy or if there's anyone normal out there, I'm just like, it's intense.
Okay, you got some work to do. If you're crazy, don't
Yeah,
reach
yeah,
out. Well, sir, I
yeah,
will not because you think women are crazy. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. That's a good
exactly.
one. And
Yeah.
then how do you help women who you also mentioned in the beginning? How do you help them when they're afraid they're getting attached too fast or, that kind of thing? What do you do there with clients?
Mm.
What do you see too?
So, yeah, gosh, this is such a common one. And it deserves so much love. It really does. It's something that I have so much compassion for, having experienced it myself several times and having so many clients and even girlfriends who are still going through that. It's something that is so tough and that I have so much love for. I want to hug it all the time when I hear about this kind of
I
thing.
could feel myself wobbling sometimes. I'd be like, old me, like
Yeah,
old me, new me. It's like,
yeah,
whoa, come back to
yeah,
grounded. Yeah.
yeah,
So I get
completely.
it. But let's break that
Yeah,
down for those who are like, what are you talking about?
yeah. So what that looks like getting too attached is getting too involved into the partner. So meaning that like if they start to pull away a little bit and enjoy their own life or need to do their work or need to do whatever the situation is, it will create this anxiety inside, right? The person will start to feel like, oh no, something's happening, something has changed. I feel their mood is different and start to get anxious inside and will usually incite a reaction from the person who's feeling that and to overcompensate. So they will either overcompensate by becoming needed, like I'm going to be very helpful, I'm going to be very nice, I'll give you a lot of compliments, or I'll ask a lot of questions like, is everything okay? Is everything going on? Or I'll overcare for the person. And those are some of the immediate responses that can come from someone who is feeling like the pulling away is happening, and I feel like it's going to influence our relationship or something's going to happen. And all of these reactions are completely normal and completely okay to have. And I think feeling them and acting on them are very different things, right? And that's one of the things we want to observe is like we can feel this way, we can feel the anxiety, we can feel the pulling away and the coming together. I think there's a beautiful thing about that. It adds dynamic, it adds polarity, it adds like some mystery sometimes, which can be very healthy. But continuously acting and chasing someone when they do that not only will turn them off, it feels shitty for yourself. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
Absolutely, you can swear.
Okay, okay. So how I
Absolutely.
like to look at that is firstly, always come back to your world. It's like come
Mm.
back to your own embodiment practices. Pleasure is such a huge one, which you obviously know you're so in that world. Coming back to your friendships, I always tell like create a life around you that you love, girlfriends that are supportive, so that it's never something that you have to rely on. You don't have to rely on only on the relationship to get all of those feelings that you're seeking. So you always have that support system with you, which permits you to come back to that space when you're feeling a little pulled, or you're like, okay, I'm going to let them do what they need to do, and I'm going to come back to the deliciousness that I've created and I've built, because
Mm.
it's very valuable. And another practice that I'd love to actually share, because I just discovered this recently, and some of the biggest points that we use in Layla's program, as you know, Kim, is going back to the core needs of being loved, belonging, and feeling safe. And those are so, 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 so important. We use this over and over again for self-care and nurturing our nervous system, and they're very, very powerful. And there's one that I've recently discovered that I started using for myself, my clients, and my girlfriends also. And everyone, every time they land on it, they're like, oh, stumps. They're like, wow, this is a big one. And this is the core need of feeling wanted. It's
Mm.
so
So
powerful.
good.
It's so deep. And I think it is a blend of feeling loved and
And
feeling
belonging.
belonging,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of blended with some worthiness stuff in there. But it is
But yeah, we
so
want to feel
different.
wanted.
Wanted. And
Need,
I'm
not
not
just
talking about being
needed,
desired. No, that's
wanted.
it.
Yeah.
Wanted. And it's not feeling desired. So it's not feeling desired in a way of being needed, like you said, or feeling physically or sexually desired. That's a whole other thing. That can be like its own little category. But being genuinely wanted for all of us, for all of who
Hmm.
we are. And
Yeah.
so many of us did not experience this in childhood in one way or another. Could be a caregiver situation, could be a past relationship that's being infused into our current reality.
Hmm.
And starting to feed that to ourselves, that being wanted, just feeling that, like imagining someone genuinely saying, I want all of you. And I could not even
Yeah.
imagine a life without that. Like just that, reflecting that back to you over and over and over again, or imagining yourself with your inner child and telling yourself, like, I want you. I genuinely want you, is
It's
very
very
different.
powerful.
Very powerful. It's a different sensation than love. It's a different sensation than belonging. It's a different sensation than safety. And I've had a
Hmm.
lot of clients who have done this internal work of reparenting or working with their inner child around love, that even when they landed on this one, they're like, wow, that's hitting me
Yeah.
hard. Like it's a big one for so many of us. And I've noticed that
Yeah.
once we start, even our friendships start to shift. Like there's just something so fundamental about this need that everything starts to turn around, even in just in the way we show up in our life. And because we're doing this for ourselves so
Hmm.
profoundly, and we're getting to the source of the cause, if you will. Like I because my work is around dating and relationships, I observe a lot of these like dating people who give tips on like what you should do around dating, what you should say, send a forward text, do all these kinds of things. And I'm always like, but until you take care of that root or like the source cause of why these reactions
Hmm.
are happening, it's
You're
just going to keep
not doing it
happening.
genuinely. You're not sending a
Yeah,
message genuinely, because once you do the
exactly.
work underneath, you don't
Yeah,
have to look at what you should send and what you shouldn't send. You actually just do what feels
yeah,
authentic and true to you in that moment. And going
completely.
back to this being wanted, I think I have identified this in the last year and a half with my current partner, who
Yeah.
is profoundly blows me away, but I've named it as being seen.
Mm.
It feels like being seen, the way he sees me and
Yeah,
wants me just
yeah,
as I am
yeah.
is so powerful and so healing all in its own.
Mhm.
It's like it's, brought up, of course, the last 48 years or 47 years before that, where I
Yeah,
wasn't, right, either
yeah,
as child or in my
yeah,
past relationship, where it was truly seen
yeah,
and loved and wanted for who I
yeah,
was.
yeah.
And that is that
I love
wanted
that
that
for
I
you.
kinda thank you, me too.
Yeah,
It's very powerful, but it's the
yeah.
seen, loved, and wanted as is. And the
Hmm.
song actually burst into tears, driving, last week, up to, the cottage that we purchased and the property we purchased, because the song that reminds me of this is "Broken and Beautiful." You know the song?
No.
Broken and
I wish
Beautiful.
I
It's a
did.
Disney song, I think.
Oh.
I gotta look it up. It's sung by one of the Broken and Beautiful. It's sung by Kelly Clarkson. So one of like the, what do you call them? The ones who go on TV and sing. See, I'm so bad with names and shit like that. So she sings it. And I think it's in a Disney song. If I put it on here, if it doesn't come on, it's in the movie Ugly Dolls. Like it's in a Disney movie or a Pixar movie.
Okay.
And it's Ugly Dolls, and it's like, I'm broken and I'm beautiful. I just want, I'm gonna read some of it here. Um, Let me find it. I'm phenomenal. I'm enough. I don't need you to tell me who to be. Can someone just hold me? Don't fix me. Don't try to change a thing. Can someone just know me? Because underneath, I'm
Hmm.
broken and it's beautiful.
That's powerful. Know
So,
me. I really like that a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always loved
Yeah.
this song. I actually shared it with my sister goddesses back in like 2018, and they didn't pick up on it a ton. But then when we were at creation level
Yeah.
after
Mhm.
Mastery with Mama Gina, we were in Mexico and she put that song on. I was like, yes. So that song has been a very profound hit my heart. I'm broken and I'm beautiful. Can somebody not try and fix me? Don't change me. Just love me for who I am.
Yeah.
Was very profound. And I remember, singing it through a lot of swamps, a lot of emotional release, a lot
Yeah.
of empowerment. Like I am good
Yeah.
and I deserve to be
Yeah.
loved and seen and safe and wanted as I am. So earlier this week, I was driving up for the cottage inspection and the song came on. It's on my regular playlist. And I burst into tears, but burst into tears in gratitude that fuck, like I have wanted
Yeah.
this so deeply, so much for
Mm-hmm.
so long, all my life, if I'm going to be honest. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been singing and playing with this song for years, and now it's come
Yeah.
on, and I'm in my most joyful, abundant, pleasurable, connected state with myself and a man that I deeply, deeply love. And it was just like, oh,
Mm.
it was just such gratitude. And that, yes, it goes right to the being wanted, being seen, and
Yeah.
being loved
Mm-hmm.
exactly as we are. Never had, and no
Oh,
clue we
thank
were
you
going to
so
go
much for
there.
sharing that. I love hearing
Thank
that.
you. I love hearing, again, hearing what you're sharing and working with and what I'm sharing and working with and feeling and
Mm,
seeing, we're all discovering these other faucets and these other pieces to what we need to be
absolutely.
whole.
Yeah, completely. And being able to share this information out with the world so that everyone else can take it all in and create that discovery within themselves because it is really such a potent shift.
It
Yeah.
really is. It's very,
Yeah.
very powerful. And it's new language to it, right? If you just say you want safety, love, and
Yeah.
belonging, like, great. And let's break that down. Even if
Mm-hmm.
we are breaking that down now, we might as well. We just broke down wanted. Being safe is also being safe to speak our truth, to say no, to create a
Mm-hmm.
boundary and still be loved in
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, to even being in an intimate moment or having sex and actually have some emotion come up and being safe enough to express it and say, I'm feeling really angry right now, I'm feeling really numb
Mm-hmm.
right now, or really grief, I
Mm-hmm.
just need you to freeze for a moment, pause with me. That one, is another great key to safety that we get to cultivate
Yeah.
in our relationships. And this is the work that's allowed us to do so, right? This is the
Mm-hmm.
piece. And then creating safety with ourselves, of course, that is the first and
Yeah.
foremost, the work that I had to do, creating
Mm-hmm.
that deep trust and safety within my own body.
Mm.
What else do you have to add on safety?
Oh my goodness. Safety, if we're talking about like, not even sure. The thing
Feeling
that was
safe
coming
in
up for me, actually, as
relationships.
you were talking about feeling safe when you're expressing emotions, the first thing that came up for me was coming back to this being wanted. Like, can I express my anger? And I'm still okay. Like you're still
Yeah.
here with me, and that's such an
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do agree with that one very
And
much. So
seen and witnessed and don't try to
yeah,
change me. It's the same
yeah.
thing, right? And then we
It's
bring
just
in
like we're
love.
okay. Yeah,
Can you love me through it, even though I'm saying
yeah,
no? Can you love me
yeah,
through it, even though I'm having a 2-year-old temper tantrum right now and my inner
yeah,
child is out crazy and I
yeah,
just need a fucking hug? Can you
yeah,
hold me through all of that, through my high emotions, my pleasure, my fun, my joy, but also my deep rage and sorrow and grief and everything in between that comes in
yeah,
between? And that's also
yeah.
love. that's safety, that's being wanted, that's being
Yeah.
seen. And all of that comes into belonging to me too, right?
Yeah.
Again, do I belong? Do I belong with
Mhm.
myself? Do I belong in my community? Do I belong with you? Like it's like
Mm,
that deep-seated feeling of belonging. It's beautiful
mm, mhm. And
to
I think
to find
it's
all of them. Mm,
it's
mhm.
so relevant. Of course, we're talking about being women, right? But this is just as relevant for the men who are putting their pictures of fish on the dating apps.
Yes,
Like
yes. It's the
it's
same
just as
core
powerful.
needs.
It's exactly, it's the same type of desire. Everyone wants to be wanted by another person. I mean, it's just such a core necessity in life. And and I hope this work, of course, this work will come out to women because this is the people that I work with the most. It's people that you tend to work with the most. But I want this message to go out to the men as well, to everyone, because
Mhm.
it is
Yeah,
so important. And because I think we can meet each other there through this. Yeah, it's just one
absolutely.
of those powerful core pieces where we can both say, yeah, this is like, I know this in you and you know this in me,
Mhm.
and let's meet there.
Totally. And I loved, I don't know about you, but I loved dating at 47 at the time. Right. I loved dating. And I actually said it a lot in the last 10 years or even 20 years as I became more empowered. I'd be like, I wasn't even thinking about dating at the time, but I was like, damn, I'd love to go back to dating, being this more empowered, grounded in my feminine, not afraid of my body, not afraid of my sexuality. Like, hello, that'd be so fun. And then I got to play with that. And it really was fun. And it's also challenging in that this challenge is not a bad thing. It brings epic growth in me, in my partner, where we're in relating and we're in intimate relationship and we are connected, but triggers from the past relationship, things that have never even come up for me before do arise. And it's
Of
actually, I find
course.
people would call it conflict, but I actually don't call it conflict. I actually see this beautiful many small ruptures where we actually get to grow and work through it together using the tools that you and I teach and have learned very
Yeah.
deeply in our relationship part of the certification and so forth of conscious communication, of speaking our
Hmm.
truth, of being really vulnerable, of being really open, even though fuck, I do not want to say that to you right now, but I'm going to say it. I'll even say sometimes my inner child wants to run upstairs right now and close and slam the door very, very loud, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here, but I need you to know that that's what she wants to do. Right? Like we'll name it when the inner children are coming out is like, this is really hard for me to say, but I'm not leaving. I'm staying here and we're going to keep
Yeah.
communicating. And it's
Yeah.
been so powerful and so healing to be
Hmm.
received, to be wanted, to be
Hmm.
seen, to be loved, to be held, and to
Hmm.
still belong on the other side with safety after sharing our truth like that. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, you're asking me about the whole, what else would I add with safety? And it sounds to me like your body was finally safe to be able to ask that and to be that and to
Mhm.
request that, to be like, okay, these little eruptions of past relationship stuff, or even the things that you said that you had never come up for you, your nervous system was safe enough to deal with it now, right? So now it's like, oh, open book. Okay, we're on the next phase now. We get to like dig a little deeper onto the other things that we haven't been dealing with over and over again in past relationships in this new format so that we can grow and expand beyond with our partner,
Yeah.
which I absolutely love. Yeah.
Which builds safety and trust because
Mm-hmm.
you're gaining evidence that you guys can actually
Mm-hmm.
talk things through. You're gaining
Totally.
evidence
Yeah,
that resentment is not building, like maybe past relationships they did for me,
that's
that's for
right.
sure. Where both
Absolutely.
people
Yeah.
shut down, walked away, didn't talk, ignored it, swept it under the carpet. That
Yeah.
didn't work for me back then. It still doesn't work for me, but it never worked for me. And this is an opportunity to come closer and lean in. And it's not easy. It's not always easy, but it is so powerful and so
Yeah.
potent and so healing when both people just lean in.
Completely. And I love how you're speaking about bringing in the tools that you know, right? Well, all of us have, the two of us have gone through the same program. So we have specific tools and whatever other teachings we've acquired along the way. But like I recommend when people start dating that they start using these tools immediately. So when I
Yeah.
start dating, within week 2 or 3, we will have a communication tool. Like it might sound weird because for most
No,
people,
you
they've
need
never
it.
done this in their life. And they're like, what are we talking about? Or I'll do eye gazing, or we'll do like some kind of co-regulation practice. And it's just to bring in the habit so that it's not a thing. We're not waiting until things start to get complicated to bring in a tool. It's like, no, make it a way of life, right? Because it is a way of life.
Yes.
It's just a way to keep the
Yes.
communication open, to not be afraid of using tools, to not be afraid of going deeper, to just create that as a natural reality as the relationship is growing,
Yeah.
because it's a
Yeah.
foundational practice that can keep going with us.
Totally agree 1000%. And it's
Yeah.
funny, I use the word tools a lot too. And as you said it there, people be like, I don't have any tools. These are just regular, everyday techniques that allow you to ground, to speak your truth, to find safety
Hmm.
within your body. If you're
Hmm.
nervous to speak your truth, or if you're
Hmm.
nervous to ask for what you want, or if you want to have a conversation around sex, or something that you're not always comfortable at doing in the past, where
Hmm.
you actually can feel regulated and safe and confident to do so. So we call
Hmm.
them tools, and yes, you can start using them as tools, but they're it's a way of being. It's a way of
Completely.
showing up in a way that you haven't before, that didn't work, in another way that now will work. It keeps working. And if it doesn't
Yeah,
work in that relationship, it'll at least show you exactly why it didn't work. And
completely.
then
Yeah.
you know what you're looking for even more the next
Yes,
time, which is so powerful.
exactly. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the more we can integrate, the more we can incorporate into our current situation, the more awareness really comes into play, right? The more we can find security in setting those boundaries and seeing if they're being allowed, not just allowed, if those boundaries are being, there's a word that I'm looking for and I can't get it.
Crossed.
Crossed or and not accepted, a boundary that's being acknowledged and just, that they're
Just
actually
acknowledged
letting,
even.
yeah, completely. Because then you
Yeah,
can
that makes
determine, well,
sense.
okay, this is a good rapport, or it's just not a good dynamic much faster.
Yeah, for those of you who are out there and you're thinking about dating, or you're just starting dating, or you have been dating and you've really disliked it, I want to share that yeah, there is another way. And I was right on something for the last 10, 15 years. Like, damn, I'd like to date with this new empowerment. It is actually fun. It's empowering. It really does allow you, when you show up as your full self, in the mature woman that we are now, right? When you show up that way, I think it really does allow you to call in the people that are more aligned for you. And it actually feels more streamlined for me than it ever did in my teens and 20s. What about you?
Mhm.
More streamlined?
Well, I'm going to have to admit that when I first came out of divorce, I did a whole lot of messy dating.
Mm,
I
okay,
was
fair
not
enough.
more empowered. I
Okay, fair enough.
started with very much a I don't know what I want yet kind of situation, like you were describing. I was in that person, right? Fully admitting everything on that
Yep,
one. So I was like,
yep,
I'm not sure what I want yet. And so, but I decided to dive in because I wanted to learn, right? This is what I used as a practice to understand more about what dating was like, what I did want, what I didn't want. Like I really used it as a path, if you want, as a journey of expansion within love for myself. So I made a lot of mistakes and I learned from all of my mistakes
yeah, that works too.
and slowly grew into the state that I'm in now. And I know that the stories that I had when I came out of dating was that I'm a divorced woman now. I'm starting to lose my look. I'm in my 40s, like I'm gonna start to have, I don't know, certain things that men are not attracted to, or maybe, I don't know, I'm gonna get menopause eventually. Like, how do I have that conversation with people? And like all these fears that would come up that are completely so silly now that I look back at it, because the more that I date, the more that I'm enjoying it. For me, I'm getting older, like every year I get older, like most people. And it is not, I don't have less matches, I have more. I don't have
Yep,
less alignment, I have way more alignment. It's like almost dating from your adult self calls in adult people. And it really does. And I
yes,
can see the difference of when I was started dating and I was dating from this inner child who was still wounded and being like, I don't know
hmm,
what I want. Let's see, like, help me get there kind of thing. Like, that's going to attract a very different kind of person. Right.
yep,
So for
totally
me,
see
the
that.
internal work is just such the biggest piece is before
Yep.
even getting to the language on the page. Um, that internal work really is the
And
part that's going to have the most impact on the outcome.
I totally agree. And the only difference for me was I feel like I did my internal work In the last 8 years. I did it still
Yeah.
in marriage. I did
Yeah.
it to invite him along for the journey of like, "Hey, this isn't
Hmm.
working for me. How
Yeah.
about this? What's working for you? What's not working for you?" Like, I invited him in over and over and over,
Hmm.
and then it got to the point where it just wasn't going to match. I can see that looking back that
Yeah.
probably, if I'm
Yeah.
honest, like, that relationship really wasn't lined up way back when, but we were young, right? It's a long time coming. Now
Exactly.
we have 3 most amazing kids from it, and there's a lot of other amazing benefits. And let's be honest, I don't think we were compatible. So
Hmm.
as or one or both of us change, which does happen. So again, no shame like that. I think Layla explained this too. I'm going to come back to my point here. But it's like relationships are like a bus and you get or a car, and there's certain cars that are going this direction and other cars are going this direction and other buses are going this
Hmm.
direction. And depending on the phase of your life, you're going to hop in one car or one bus. And that is, a relationship. And it doesn't mean that you can't
Yeah.
leave that car or bus and go get
Hmm.
on a different one and go in a different direction.
Completely.
So no
Completely.
shame for wherever you're at. But what I was saying was I actually think I did a lot of my work in the marriage, trying to heal the marriage, trying to repair the marriage, trying to
Yeah.
do my own inner work, which oh my, did I do that work first, right? And then
Yeah.
kept inviting him in. And it wasn't going to go there. So by the time
Yeah.
as women, right, we take a long time to decide that we're done. We wait right to the very,
Hmm.
very end, probably way too long,
Hmm.
like we started saying in the
Hmm.
beginning. By the time I
Hmm.
was done, I was like, I am so ready to date and I am know exactly what I want, but I had done my
Mm.
work, had done the
Yeah.
inner work to release my conditioning, release the patterning, see what it is I wanted, see what I build up my worthiness, work on my safety and my trust with my own body, with my own boundaries, with my own truth. And it's powerful work. When we do that work,
Mm.
we align, as you said, much quicker with many
Hmm.
more matches right then and there, which is really fun. It's really been a really beautiful journey.
That's it. It makes it more fun. I mean, we talk about the dating apps as being a terrible thing, and every time we come out of a relationship, the first thing is like, oh, do I have to get back on the apps? Like, it sounds like such a
Right?
terrible thing. But very quickly, every time there is another iteration, another cycle where you've grown from the last situation. I'm going to be speaking now to people who haven't necessarily just had one relationship, but may have been dating for a while and tried on and off different things. Every time there's a new iteration, there's a new evolution of yourself, right? Every time there's a new relationship, you've learned something new, something you want, something you don't want. And it allows you to enjoy it that much more, to be that much more clear, to be able to set the boundaries, but to also invite exactly what you do want, right? Like, what are the things that yes, I can say all the no's that I have, but like, what do I actually really, what turns me on? What like really makes me go? And how can I
Feel loved,
bring
wanted,
that?
safe.
Yeah. And bring that into my presentation
Yeah,
for the right person to land on. And there's also a
yeah.
question of timing, which is one of those things you can't work on that. Well, I'm going to say that
And
I think you
trust,
can.
trusting
Yeah.
the universe, trusting that
Exactly.
exactly, what you need and what you want is coming to you. And
Yeah.
continuing to work on yourself. And that is not easy while you're in the middle of it. Oh my gosh, it is the
Hmm.
hardest lesson to surrender and to
Completely.
trust and to have
Yeah.
fun and to be in your pleasure and to stay
Yeah.
confident and grounded. And that is what Xine and I do best, right? We're working
Yeah.
with women to teach them how to stay confident and grounded and healed in their own empowered feminine. We're sexy and sensual and turned on and juicy and in love with ourselves so that we can
Yeah.
attract exactly what it is that we want from there and discover what it is you want if you don't know. That is okay too. So many
Hmm.
people don't know what they
Completely.
want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the people I love to work with, the women and the couples. I love also the couples. So that is also a plan for 2025 for offering retreats in person in the new property that we've purchased for singles and couples to
Oh, I
learn
love
how
that.
to, I know, to learn how to communicate and connect and learn these tools. And it feels really deeply, it's been calling me for a while to go back to in person. Like I really deeply craving the in person in nature where
Yeah.
it's grounded and small groups. We're looking at
Hmm.
like, 3 to 6 couples, like tiny little groups where we get to
That
connect
sounds
and grow.
heavenly. I love that.
Mm-hmm. It's something I would have killed for over the years, and now we get to create it. So
I
we'll
send
drop
you
the
the
links in the
magic
show
to have it
notes.
happen.
Thank you. You're only getting on the wait list at this point because the rest of the details are not out. The wait list for the details. But what else do you have going on to work with people in these realms? What else do you have coming up? Share all the details, and we'll drop the links in the show notes too.
Yeah. So the ways that you can work with me right now, the ways that I love to work with people is one-on-one. Oh,
You're good. I can still hear you.
no, something was speaking in my ear.
You're
Okay,
still
if you
good.
can't hear it, it's fine.
We're good. Can't hear it.
So the thing that, oh gosh, sorry. Something is playing in my ear and I don't even know what it is. Okay, it stopped. Thank goodness. I think something started from my internet. I was like, oh, okay.
Uh,
Yes, the way that I love to work with people is that I've created a very basic path that you can start to follow. So for anyone who was listening before to this whole idea of being wanted, which we talked about pretty well, I have a free training that you can start to watch and really take advantage of using that healing for yourself. So starting to do that internal work, especially if you're getting ready to start dating again, this is a really great place to start with that. But it's also good if you're in a relationship as well, where you're feeling like you're looking for more intimacy, you're looking for more from them. Start to give that to yourself and start to notice how that will start to shift the dynamic in your dating and your relationship. So that's completely free. You can find it on my page that we will link. And then beside
love
that,
it.
the quickest and best and most potent way is one-on-one work. And that's the work that I love. I work with 6 months with people. So we're looking at 2025 at this point. And once you finish the work of 6 months with me, you won't even recognize who you were when you began in terms of who you were attracting, how empowered you feel around dating in your relationship life. This is very potent work and I absolutely adore it.
Yes, I do too. I do as well. The one-on-one work is where we go deep and we go deep faster. And you're getting the
Mm,
one-on-one attention to dive into all these things. I have 2 spots open for January 2025.
wonderful.
And just two for that. And then the rest will be waiting for the retreats, and jumping in on those and going from there. So I'm so excited. This is brilliant. I love this. We're going to drop all Zine's links in the show notes as well. So you can grab this and yeah, start to play and fall in love with yourself, with new partners, whatever that may be. Really start
Mhm.
to deepen the intimacy, open the lines of communication, show up as your true, authentic self, and just literally create the life that you love and desire, that turns you on and excites you. It is all possible. It's possible for every single one of you listening. I really want you to know that no matter where you're at in your journey, if it's a really heavy, hard, dark day, we all have them too, and it's still
Mhm.
possible. And these are the tools and the
Absolutely.
techniques and the practices and the work that I've done and Zine have done to hold us through these hard days, to hold us through these hard moments. And they just keep getting smaller and smaller for me, and more manageable. And again, it's such a beautiful journey. So
Absolutely.
we
Agreed.
invite you in to reach out. We both offer complimentary calls to see if it feels like a good fit. And
Mhm.
we'll share that in the show notes as well. And we'll go from there. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Very
So
much
good to connect
appreciate it.
again.
Really love to have this conversation with you. It's true. It's been a while.
It's been a while, too long, too long.
Yeah,
So till
agreed.
next time, everyone, have a beautiful day.